U.S. military's new weapon codenamed Honeybee. The CIA put it in the hands of the Hamid group of Mujahideen, but the Hamid fighters were wiped out. The Honeybee must still be hidden at their base, the fort at Dasmasi Laman. Unfortunately, the Soviets are looking for the weapon as well. You have to get to it before they do. Bring it back here. There's a photo of the target on your iDroid. One more thing. Apparently, one of the Hamid fighters survived. He's missing, but if you can find him, he might lead us to the target. Good luck, boss.
Part of the Mujahideen's arsenal against the Soviets is secretly supplied by the CIA. But the war continues to drag on with neither side gaining the advantage. Now, though, the CIA have started supplying the guerrillas with a new weapon. We don't know the details, but rumor has it that it could turn the tide of the war. The Soviets have heard about it, and it has them spooked. Now, the Hamid Mujahideen were issued this weapon, but then they were wiped out in no time. There's no trace of fighting at their fort, and all their supplies are just sitting there. Naturally, that screams biochemical weapons, but the Soviets deny using anything that would violate the BWC. Whatever happened, the Soviets have invaded the area and are searching for this Western weapon tech. This is the CIA's worst nightmare. If that weapon falls into Soviet hands, it'll drastically rewrite the history that's being made here. But the company can't be seen entering the area. That's where we come in. Boss, head to the fort of Dasmasi Laman. Find the weapon before the Soviets, and bring it back to base fast. The new weapon is codenamed Honeybee. To the U.S., it's a vital military secret.
You need to retrieve the new U.S. military weapon known as the Honeybee. It should be hidden somewhere in Smasi Fort. There's a photo of the Honeybee on your iDroid. Apparently one of the Hamid fighters survived. You might know where the Honeybee's been stashed, but he's probably already in Soviet hands. A Soviet relay base. Think there's something in there that could lead us to the Honeybee? Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. Is that prisoner the Hamid survivor? If he is, he has to know something about the Honeybee. prisoner knows where the honeybee is hidden. The Soviets must be making him take them to it. He's coming too. Roger that. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. Extract him. Must be making the prisoner take them to the honeybee. If you follow them, they could lead you right to it. So your suppressor is worn out. That gun will be as loud as any other now. If you have to shoot, be careful. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. That's an enemy gunship. A single burst from his machine gun can cut a man in half. Tread carefully, boss. Yeah. 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 Well, you gonna help him? You could wait what the Soviets do with him. That's Marseille Fort, to Marseille Le Mans. Now to find the honeybee. Soviets must be making the prisoner take them to the honeybee. If you follow them, it could lead you right to it.
готовность. Конец связи.
КП-1, есть признак вражеской активности. Усилим охрану. Прием.
Это КП, понял. Проверьте окрестности. Конец связи.
КП, это 06. Тут что-то есть. Что делать? Прием.
Это КП, понял. Усилить безопасность. Повышенная боевая готовность. Конец связи.
КП-1, тут происходит что-то странное. Что указали? Прием.
Это КП, понял. Усилить безопасность. Повышенная боевая
Boss,
готовность.
go ahead and fold and extract that prisoner. We'll find out if he knows anything. Looks like that prisoner you extracted was the mute survivor. The guy's a mute, but he pointed out the whereabouts of the honeybee on a map. It's on your iDroid. Head on over there and retrieve it. Who would have thought they'd hide it there? You secured the target. Now you just need to bring it back. Call the chopper from your iDroid. You are not to use the honeybee. The order was to recover it with its ammunition.
You look well rested, big boss. My, how you've changed. You became a demon for such little weapons as that? Well, I'm sure you'll see the bigger picture eventually. If you get out of here alive. Rest in peace this time. I'll see you in hell, boss.
What the hell was that thing? It was huge. What's he doing to that soldier? Damn it, they're everywhere. Now we're talking. We can forget about that bonus now.
shortly at LZ. This is Pequot. Have arrived at LZ. Will stand by.
Destroyed their anti-air radar? It wasn't one of the targets, but that's put a hole in their air surveillance. The chopper will be able to get in close now. You can designate a landing zone near the outpost.
This is Pequot. Arriving shortly at LZ.
All right, get in. Time to go.
Gaining altitude.
Mission complete. Great work. So this unit in the mist, their speed, the way they jump, it's not human. And those deformities,
They attacked the Soviets, too.
and that Grim Reaper look-alike in charge of them, that giant thing that carried him off. What the hell are they?
Cypher.
And what do they want? What's their objective? Why Afghanistan? There's one more thing troubling me.
What happened to the Hamid?
Exactly. Whole squads of hardened Mujahideen killed without a fight, and no trace of BC weaponry. What does it all mean?
That's what we're here to find out.
Yeah, right. If we really need to know, the truth will reveal itself. Even if it's ugly. Boss, I'm creating a new intel team to support you in our areas of operation. Members of this team will head out into the field and conduct reconnaissance. Knowing the strength of an enemy force beforehand will help you carry out missions more smoothly. We may also learn something about the skull-faced man. So boss, that brings me to assigning staff to the intel team. There might be guys already assigned to other teams who are more suited to the intel team. Go ahead and reassign them as you see fit. Remember the guys you brought back from the base in Cuba 9 years ago? Believe it or not, some of them survived that hell we went through. Word reached them that Big Boss is back and they wanted in. They're good men, our brothers in fate. They'll be glad to know you've seen them here. The dog you brought back. There'll come a day when he'll be ready to join you on missions. But you know, he gets lonely easily. You should come visit him every once in a while. Get back to Mother Base.
See that? Now that's discipline. Following orders like a real diamond dog. Soon they'll be... Hey, no! Stay! Stay! Didi! Go! Maybe not yet. But soon. Soon.
Boss, we've had some new job offers come in. I've selected the ones I'd like you to handle and added them to the list. Take a look on your iDroid. The more missions you complete, the more we can expand Mother Base.
Welcome back, boss. Boss!
Roger.
Thanks for letting me join the fight.
This is B-Quad.
Boss!
Arriving shortly at LZ. On station at LZ!
Boss, if you need supplies, let us know.
Members of the intel team are on the ground. Their reports will be reflected as predicted enemy fields of movement on your iDroid's map. The higher the team's level, the more accurate and frequent their reports will become. Be sure to take advantage of them. Bionic Arm developer has submitted a proposal for a new feature. An active sonar that can detect the positions of soldiers, prisoners, and animals. To start development, give the order from your iDroid.
The honeybee. How? The CIA wanted it with everything intact. They took it apart to look at it. Then they put it back together. Everything intact. That's the R&D boys, all right. Turns out the honeybee's homing capabilities are a cut above previous manpads. It can detect a broad range of infrared wavelengths, and even ultraviolet for supplementary guidance. Hence the name, huh? Right. Honeybees rely on UV light to fly. With this device, flares don't do the target any good. That's why the Soviets are losing so many gunships, and why the CIA was so desperate to get it back. It wasn't just about preventing the Soviets from devising countermeasures. What if the likes of Iran got their hands on it? American aircraft would be put at risk too. We can use this tech to develop our own portable missile. That'll give us a huge advantage. It'll take a little time before the analysis results can be applied to actual implementation. But we'll keep moving with the research.
So when sandstorms come in, sandstorms effectively make you blind and deaf. But that goes for the enemy too. Use the situation to your advantage.
about the unit that attacked us in the mist? You knew something about them.
That wasn't my first run-in with them. It happened right before I was captured by the Soviets. We were on the Zero line that day, the Afghan side. On our way back from training the Mujahideen at a mountain camp in Kunar province. There's a lot of that work in Afghanistan. Most PFs shy away from it because it draws too much attention. But for us, that was the whole point. The job itself went great. We just had to make it back to a tribal area in Pakistan. But all of a sudden, visibility got real bad. It was no sandstorm. Our point man gave this strange report. He said he could see skulls in the mist.
Skulls?
The next moment, he went silent. We scrambled into formation, right before his arms and legs came raining down on us. It was always supposed to be a dangerous mission, so I had Diamond Dog's very best with me. We were calling out to each other. But one by one, their voices just went dead. Whatever happened to me, I lost consciousness before I knew it. When I came to, I was in a Soviet camp, tied to an interrogation chair.
Could they be some new Spetsnaz unit?
No. The ones that interrogated me were just the average rank and file. Whatever group attacked us, the way they moved was just insane. And that mist, appearing out of nowhere. The Soviets don't have tech like that.
If they did, Ocelot would have heard about it.
I doubt the West does either. Otherwise, the folks at Langley would be sleeping a lot easier.
Why'd they come after you?
Wish I knew. I'm the only one who survived. Though I don't think they planned it that way. If I was their target...
That's the target.
They wouldn't have just handed me over to the 40th Army. Whatever the case, we need to watch our step until we know who they really are. And boss, if you ever do run into them again, don't try to take them on. You just get the hell out of there. When I first started dealing with Zero, with Cypher, it was a somewhat parasitic relationship. Though, a mutually beneficial one. Cypher had no army of their own, so they wanted us. They wanted our strength. They approached me as a potential business partner.
But they had other motives.
Cypher coaxed us into Central America, into that US-Soviet proxy war, to fuel Mother Base's growth. Once we were big enough, they'd force us to join them. That was the plan.
That's why they had Paz still.
You gotta extract him.
And if we refused, she would use Zeke to fire a nuke from Mother Base. The world would consider us a liability, and countries would unite to destroy us.
We stopped the launch.
And yet they still took us down, through that fake inspection they orchestrated to cover up their sabotage. That power Cypher wanted. We don't have it anymore. So why are they still after you? Is it just the fear of leaving you alive?
I don't know. Was Zero really... All I know is the man I knew wouldn't want this.
What do you mean?
We have to consider that it might not be Zero we're dealing with.
We know virtually nothing about Cypher anymore. How big they've gotten, what they want, or even who they really are. The new
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Operated by a mineral resources supplier, but their project fell through. The Seychelles government was happy to hand the place over to us. It was just scrap on stilts. So with a few dummy construction companies set up as fronts, we started renovating the half-finished rig. From the outside, it looked like the project was back on rails.
Kaz, you...
What?
I see what you're doing. Recreating the Mother Base we had 9 years
He's coming too. Roger that.
That's right. The Mother Base Cypher thought they destroyed will return from the grave to kill them. We'll prove to the world that we were the victors.
And if we lose again?
They can't fool us the same way twice. Now our enemies are in plain sight. And when our organization gets too big, we split it across companies. Any company that draws attention gets liquidated, and its capital is back-channeled into a new company. Most PFs are small-time operations anyway. And in this business, the minnows go bankrupt all the time. We've never aroused...
You gotta extract him.
Plus, we have Hewick.
Hewick?
Human Exploitation Company. It's a business specializing in intel gathering. Think of it as a civilian intelligence agency.
Kaz, that's...
Remember what they were trying to accomplish at the prison facility in Cuba? That gave me the idea. We dispatch moles into conflict zones around the world, and each sets up an intel network on site. Then they stay in place to give us stable points of contact when other nations intervene in the conflicts. Hewick's strength is that it has a cutout at each level. You get your job from one guy...
He's coming too.
off to another.
Roger that.
No one has direct access. It's a perfect black box. Hewick members also work their way into the superpowers intelligence agencies to make sure Diamond Dogs gets work. We have those countries by the balls. That's our deterrent when we need it.
Networking. In the intelligence community?
Sure, that's how we've grown this far. And when you go out on missions, intel from Hewick will be there to back you up. But despite all that, Cypher has its eyes on us. The only reason I'm not dead is that they needed to know where you were. Figured if you woke up, I'd go straight to you.
That's why you made that ruckus at the Zero line.
Yeah, to make their own surveillance work against them. I think it took some of the heat off Cyprus.
Kaz.
Then I just had to wait for you to save me.
It's no good, boss. Attacking like that won't cut it. Aim somewhere else. Or change to a different weapon.
And with the West wanting the Soviets out of Afghanistan, their agencies are bursting at the seams with funding. Boss, let's start by building up our Afghan presence.
Why put Mother Base in the Seychelles?
We're at the center of the world here.
We're all the way out in the Indian Ocean.
Come on. Lebanon, Sri Lanka, East Timor, and Africa. From here, our reach extends to conflict zones the world over, including Afghanistan, of course.
So it's prime real estate for a mercenary.
Exactly. Latin America isn't as close as I'd like, but we have Amanda and her people to help in that department. And besides, the Seychelles government owes us a favor.
Owes us?
The Seychelles has strong ties to the East, which the West wanted to shake up. It came to a head 3 years ago in an attempted coup. It was a force of South African mercenaries with U.S. backing behind the scenes. They were only platoon size, but South Africa is home to some heavy TFs. Too much for the Seychelles to handle. In the end, they accepted help from the Tanzanian army and quelled the coup. We set up the deal and handled on-site tactical instruction. That led to some training work for the Seychelles military. And when we put down a mutiny within their forces...
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
They don't pay us. They just let us have a piece of their offshore territory on the promise we'll come running if something else happens.
So we're bodyguards, too.
It's a good setup. We can only take Mother Base so far here. We'll have to find somewhere else when this place starts getting big.
Aren't you being a little hasty?
Nothing hasty about it. You're back with us.
He's coming too. Roger that.
So, Kaz, the ship
Roger.
from Cyprus, it used to be a whaler.
Yeah, a Japanese vessel. How was the voyage?
It was...
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
She was part of a whaling fleet up until a few years ago. Her displacement isn't anything to write home about, but she can really move. She still had plenty of life left in her, but then the work dried up. Global opposition to whaling has been mounting for years.
Is that right?
The push to ban it has been gaining traction for a little over a decade. Individual species came under protection as the years went on. And then 2 years ago, the IWC adopted a moratorium on commercial whaling. Several countries, including Japan, fought it to the bitter end. But eventually, most whaling companies had no choice but to throw in the towel. You ever tried whale snake?
Can't say that I have.
When I was a kid in Japan, practically everybody ate it.
That good, huh?
The country was poor in those days, and whale was cheap. International opinions changed since then. In any case, that's why we were able to get a bargain price on the ship. Of course, we did end up spending 5 times the purchase price in modifications. We had to really work to fit in all the ESM and communications gear while keeping the whaler look intact. Right now, she's going around conducting SIGINT missions. In the future, we plan to use her as a communications relay base between you and Mother Base, and also as a chopper resupply vessel. Diamond Dogs. The word diamond originally comes from the Greek adamas. It means indomitable, unyielding. Other words for the stones often mean eternal bond, fortitude, or purity. The same is true of the Star of Bethlehem flowers you laid on the boss's grave. They represent innocence, as well as chastity, yielding to no man while maintaining one's virtue. In other words, staying loyal to something.
Departing! support unit. They can now deliver support strikes to our areas of operation. Use your iDroid to designate a location for a strike. Just make sure you're not in the kill zone. I'd hate to tell the men they blew up the boss. After you've called in a strike, move away from the target location immediately. Also, like supply drops, strikes cost GMP. So once you don't put us in the red, remember what our real objective is.
Said the number of private forces is increasing, and they model themselves after us.
They're a far cry from the likes of us.
But why? 9 years ago we made enemies of the world as a nuclear-equipped force, independent of ideology or state.
Yes. Sooner or later, the real UN would have stepped in.
So why are they giving these PFs free reign?
That's our fault, too.
What do you mean?
What happened 9 years ago was a real problem for a lot of people. An organization as big as ours, with our facilities, was wiped off the map. Not an easy thing to hide. But if our existence came to light, so would the names of our clients. We had contracts all over, east and west, from superpowers to banana republics. The lot. Our clients denied all association with the likes of us. They had to make sure things didn't blow up on them. But at the same time, they missed us. They really missed us. The demand for armies for hire was as strong as ever. The international community turned a blind eye to what happened to us, despite still needing people who could do our jobs. History couldn't afford to lose us. As soon as we were gone, they needed a replacement. So private forces spread everywhere. And they're all just a phone call away.
But still.
I know. PFs are totally different from what we envisioned. Nation-states, revolutionaries, terrorists. They have a lot of clients, and Cypher is one of them. Cypher stays anonymous, but I know their work when I see it. In the eyes of those clients, the world's PFs are all just expendable pawns. The clients don't have to worry about losing their own men. Nobody knows they're involved, and PFs are cheap. In short, the world is chewing up soldiers and spitting them out. Even some of the old Mother Base's survivors are still working for PFs. Some guys created their own smaller forces. Others were taken on by emerging PFs. Everybody's gone their separate ways. but none of them are living their dream, because they're not fighting with you. Of course, I tried to headhunt as many of them as I could for Diamond Dogs. It was all a waste of time. They said they weren't interested without you to lead them, but now you're back. And everything's gonna change. We'll unite all private forces under you, transcending nations and economies. What is a nation? Just a patch of dirt. The bonds among us will surpass nations, and that's what'll put the world under our control. We'll establish a new kind of country, redefine the very concept of it. Even Cypher will be below us. An extraterritorial federation of military nations. The United States of Force. Once word of Big Boss's return starts traveling, that'll be our true deterrent against Cypher. In other words,
You gotta extract him.
no one will dare to come gunning for you.
How do you figure?
Cypher lacks a large-scale fighting force. PFs are the perfect tool for them. But those PFs revere you. The legendary Big Boss. If Cypher killed you now,
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
maybe they'd even go looking for revenge. But they definitely wouldn't keep doing Cypher's dirty work, even if it put their lives at stake. That's why it's no longer a benefit to Cypher to get rid of you. The very fact that you're alive is our greatest defense against Cypher.
Nice to know. It'll buy us some time while we get back to full strength.
Just keep in mind that what I'm saying is generalizing a lot. In practice,
That's the target.
around the world don't know your
Is
face.
that one of our men from 9 years ago?
Won't be enough to convince them
Bring him home, boss.
to see you as an enemy. They'll come at you with everything they've got.
Some hero.
That's why you need to bring them back to Mother Base. Show them on your terms that you really are the one and only Big Boss. Once you've proven that, they won't hesitate to join us.
Boss, I knew you were alive. I'm so happy, boss.
One of the guys out on a mission at the time. He's fallen a long way from the glory days. But will he come back to us? He's coming too. Roger that.
We were lucky to get our hands on that cyborg arm developer. There's no one in Diamond Dogs who can so much as maintain that thing.
Bionic arm, not cyborg, if you go by what he calls it. But you're right. The East is light years ahead in bionics. They can even detect through the skin the slight electrical signals from the brain that order muscles to move. The Soviet Union completed their first bionic arm capable of doing that back in the 60s. Although I guess that news didn't really reach the West.
No kidding. Zadornov's was the only one I ever saw. Quite a shock to see it for the first time.
And it was no mean feat to get hold of Snake's arm. I couldn't get one for you at the time, but you know, now...
Forget it. I've no intention of relying on bionics. Right now I need to keep the pain fresh in my mind.
Well, it's your decision. But don't you find it... inconvenient?
Not a bit. But the phantom pain... it never lets up. Do you know how many men I saw die that day? There's nothing we can do to bring them back. And you expect me to care about getting a measly arm and leg back? Sorry. But my pain belongs to all our dead comrades. I'll keep living with it for their sake. It'll guide me straight and true until I've gotten them the vengeance they deserve. That's the target. Roger. Diamond Dog's intel team specializes in information gathering, mainly HUMINT and SIGINT. They plant scouts and moles in the field. These operatives will blend into the local populace and work under the guise of a resident, or disguise themselves as travelers and ask around for information. They observe targets using various hidden bugs, cameras, and transmitters, and by tapping their satellite and phone communications. Analyzing all this information creates a clear picture of how wars and the PFs fighting them are changing. This data can also be used for threat assessment when deciding whether to accept contracts from... You destroyed their anti-air radar? It wasn't one of the targets, but that's put a hole in their air surveillance. The chopper will be able to get in close now. You can designate a landing zone near the outpost. Remote observation of changes in the AO. What you hear from us over the radio is based on how we interpret the data gathered at the command platform. However, intel team operatives go unarmed in almost all situations to avoid revealing themselves to the enemy. Some will carry a knife, but most have nothing at all. As such, don't expect them to help you take on heavily armed adversaries like PF soldiers. Think of them as entirely passive in the hot zone. Plus, they use all manner of techniques to remain inconspicuous in the field. If you ever spot one, you'll have some serious explaining to do. So remember, their specialty is espionage. They may not be of use in a firefight, but when it comes to intel, they're pros.
Реагируйте на каждое движение. Нет связи.
The 3 Soviet commanders are meeting at Calais. The mission is to eliminate all 3. How you do it is up to you, boss. Good luck. I've sent the target's anticipated travel routes and the meeting location to your map. Take a look. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. coming too. Roger that. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. He's coming too. Roger that. That's one of the targets.
Это Дмитрий-6. Я видел подозрительную личность. Нужен кто-то для проверки. Прием.
Дмитрий-6, это КП. У нас нет сейчас людей. Оставайтесь на стороже. Конец связи. Понял. Проверьте окрестности. Конец связи.
Объявляю тревогу! Встреча отменяется! Всем группам вернуться на базовый предупреждение!
Take a good look at their faces so we can ID the targets. the target. Looks like we found him. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Where are your friends?
First target extracted. Good. Now for the other two. That's the target. Target extracted. Only one left.
Всем боевым группам! Это кафе! На нас напали! Всем подразделениям занять боевые позиции!
He's coming too. Roger that. Roger. Target extracted. We'll let the client know he's been dealt with. Exfiltrate out of the hot zone by chopper or on land.
КП, это своя шесть! Потерял противника из вида. Ищу последние точки соприкосновения. Прием!
Это КП, понял. Будьте очень внимательны. Реагируйте на каждое движение. Конец связи.
That's a medicinal plant called Haoma, otherwise known as Soma. People use it to make a sacred drink for religious ceremonies.
This is B-Quad. Arriving shortly at LZ.
КП, это своя один! Это
B-Quad. On station at LZ.
Искать местность! Прием!
Это КП, понял. Ищите красный ум. Они где-то здесь. Конец связи.
Gaining altitude.
Стоп! Это КП. Развернулся огонь. Распределяй огонь в ответ. Потеряли врага. Враг вроде все еще прятался поблизости. Соблюдайте осторожность. Стоп! Это КП. Ответьте!
Departing.
Стоп! Ответьте! Стоп! Стоп! Это КП! Стоп! Прием!
Mission complete. They're gonna tell stories. One boss. Ocelot got the details of the meeting out of that commander. It seems you've been doing your job just a little too well, boss. The Soviets have begun reinforcing the 40th Army's units in Afghanistan, sending in more men and new equipment. While things haven't exactly been easy for us up till now, they're about to get even tougher. More staff from each of the teams are active in the area of operations now. That means some will be wounded, get sick, or suffer PTSD. That's where the medical team comes in. I've taken the liberty of commissioning the construction of a new medical platform. Having proper medical facilities for the men is a matter of life or death, so I put up the resources this time around. You can check on the platform's progress by selecting Base Facilities under the iDroid's Mother Base menu.
Remember Amanda?
Yeah, I do.
Their revolution was a success. Somoza resigned, and Nicaragua has a new government. Amanda's really working hard for her country to be reborn.
Good for them.
She says she wishes Chico could be there.
That revolution was the dream. For Amanda, for Chico, and their father.
That chopper was no place for Chico to die. I'd like to at least think history will remember his part in the revolution.
When you pick up a gun, there's always a chance you'll die for nothing. He knew that as well as the rest. Now that he's gone, it's up to the rest of us to decide what it was all worth. If we don't, there's nothing to prove that Chico ever lived at all. We're his mark on the world.
Amanda told us that Strangelove contacted her after the revolutionaries came to power in Nicaragua. Strangelove, the AI researcher from Mother Base?
I remember her.
We'd lost touch with her, until Amanda heard from her out of the blue. She told Amanda she wanted to salvage Peace Walker's drive parts, or something from the bottom of Lake Nicaragua. Amanda passed the request on to her friends in the new administration. She's a national hero now, after all. So Strangelove got a Soviet military aircraft to transport something to somewhere. But apparently the cargo wasn't big enough to have been Peace Walker itself.
So what was it?
Who knows? We recovered Peace Walker's nuclear warhead ourselves 9 years ago. What could Strangelove have been after? Amanda said she didn't mention what her reason was or where she was headed. Nicaragua is a socialist state now. With Amanda vouching for her, the government didn't feel the need to concern itself with the details. All Strangelove told Amanda was that she was going to continue her research, and that the rest was a secret. Right before the attack, Huey was in the control tower to prepare for the inspectors. He was with them when it all went down. The control tower collapsed with the rest of it strut. His body was never recovered, but he was the one who met the inspection party when they arrived. And he was the one who showed the nuclear inspectors to the tower. You remember the way it went. First he recommends we agree to the inspection, then he gives them the okay without our permission, all the time acting as if he was doing us a favor. On top of that, he even had the guards disarmed that day. It would send the wrong message, he said. Whatever the angle, it all leads back to Huey. I curse my own stupidity for not realizing sooner. Huey escaped with that unit by chopper. I've been hunting him for 9 long years. The other reason I was operating around Afghanistan was to dig up his location.
Huey's in Afghanistan?
Yes, and I have a good idea where. Now we just wait for the right moment. This time, we'll be the ones using him. He's going to tell us who our guests really were that used a fake nuclear inspection to blast our home into the ocean.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Snake, I wanted to ask you about the man on fire. What do you remember from the hospital? Anything we can use? Well, he took off the moment the sprinklers started up.
Sprinklers? The fire system?
And when he got sprayed with water from the burst pipe, it slowed him down.
When we escaped on horseback, he wouldn't cross the river either.
And then it started to rain. And he disappeared.
Water against fire. Is it that simple? I mean, it makes sense. It's just hard to believe it would work on a guy like that.
Копейте, Дмитрий 9. Потерял противника из вида. Ищу последние точки соприкосновения. Прием! Это КП, понял. Будьте очень внимательны. Реагируйте на каждое движение. Конец связи. Нужен защитный огонь! Это КП, понял. Не позволяйте им застать вас врасплох. Будьте начеку. Конец связи. Штаб, это КП. Возобновился огонь. Открыли огонь в ответ, но потеряли врага. Враг может все еще прятаться поблизости. Соблюдайте осторожность. Штаб, это КП. Ответьте. Штаб, ответьте. Штаб, это КП. Штаб, прием.
Roger that.
Странный шум. Направляюсь, чтобы разобраться. Прием. Это КП. Понял. Будь осторожен. Конец связи. КП, это Дмитрий-1. Никаких признаков врага. Называем поиск. Прием. Это КП. Понял. Будьте бдительны. Не позволяйте им напасть на вас. Конец связи.
The enemy's given up their search for you. But they're not giving the all-clear just yet. Stay alert.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Что-то есть. Что делать? Прием. Это КП. Понял. Усилить безопасность. Повышенная боевая готовность. Конец связи.
He's coming too. Roger that.
КП, это Дмитрий-1. Только что видел подозрительный воздушный шар. Скорее всего, на базе лазутчик. Мне заняться его поисками? Прием. Это КП. Понял. Всем подразделениям. Быть начеку. Конец связи. КП, это 06. У нас проблемы. Усиливаем охрану. Прием.
this is important. We've reports of a crack sniper at large in the Afghan wilderness. The Soviets call this sniper Tiki, quiet. There are never any sightings, and only corpses are left behind. The Soviets have already lost a number of officers. You'd, best watch your step.
A sniper known as Quiet is lurking in the Afghan wilderness. This Quiet has performed a string of hits on Soviet officers. The attacks always occur in the same area, but sweeps of the area turn up no traces whatsoever. They've even posted guards, but they never spot a thing. And then before you know it, another body's lying on the ground. You ever heard of someone who operates like that? No matter how still and silent a person tries to be, they always create some kind of ripple. Be it breathing, a heartbeat, eating, excreting, body temperature, sweat. If this sniper can really vanish completely, that's just not human. I guess Quiet is the right name. But what is Quiet's objective? The local guerrillas wouldn't use this kind of tactic. I just can't see them hiring some superhuman mercenary. And the Soviet officers who've been killed, well, they were all opposed to or skeptical of the secret weapons development being conducted in the area. Sure, they were a problem for those supporting it, but the Soviets have nothing to gain by killing them. So we have an assassin with superhuman combat skills who isn't working for the guerrillas or the Soviets. Miller has a theory that this sniper is a hitman for Cypher. He thinks it's time we silence Quiet for good. But I'm against the lethal treatment. I say we bring the sniper back alive and break that silence. Because even if this Quiet doesn't say a word, there's still plenty we can learn. Just remember this, boss. If our hunch is right, you'll be on this sniper's hit list too. If things seem a little too quiet when you're in the field, watch out. Quiet's out there somewhere. And if possible, this is one sniper I want back here breathing.
Extract him.
communications between enemy outposts by destroying comms equipment. That'll prevent one post from sending reinforcements to another.
That's the target. Okay, subject is in. Roger. You gotta extract him.
This is P-Quad. Arriving shortly at LZ.
Всем боевым группам, это кафе. Все огневые силы против вражеского вертолета.
This is P-Quad. On station at LZ. Gaining altitude.
Boss, what happened? Boss!
Войски ни к чему не привели. Прием. Это КП. Понял. Вернитесь на пост. Прием.
He's coming too. Roger that.
огонь! Прекратить огонь!
КП-33, потерял противника. Ищу последние точки соприкосновения. Прием.
Это КП, понял. Проверьте, но осторожно. Конец связи.
Нужен защитный огонь!
Вот ты где!
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Огонь! Огонь! Открыть огонь! Огонь на
You gotta extract him.
КП, это 939! У нас большие потери! Нужен резерв немедленно! Прием! Всем состав! Это командир!
That's the target.
Вышли из строя! Мы не можем вызвать подкрепление с других блокпостов! Окопайтесь и удержите позиции своими силами! Конец связи! КП, это 936! Потерял противника из вида! Ищу последние точки соприкосновения! Прием!
Это КП, понял. Будьте начеку и найдите противника. Конец
Okay, subject is in.
Контакт!
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
КП, это 939! Нас атакуют! Большие потери! Пошлите резервную группу! Прием!
You gotta extract him.
Всем состав! Это командир! Внешняя радиосвязь вышла из строя! Мы не можем вызвать подкрепление с других блокпостов! Окопайтесь и удержите позиции своими силами! Конец связи! КП, это 2. Потерял противника! Ищу последние точки соприкосновения! Прием!
Это КП, понял. Обследуйте сектор. Но осторожно. Конец связи.
КП, это 2. Противник скрылся из виду! Начинаю поиск! Прием!
Это КП, понял. Обыщите каждый угол. Они где-то здесь. Конец связи. Штаб, это КП. Возобновился огонь. Открыли огонь в ответ. Но потеряли врага. Враг может все еще прятаться поблизости. Соблюдайте осторожность. Штаб, это КП. Ответьте.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Штаб, это КП. Штаб, прием. 101, это КП. Доложите ситуацию.